Welcome back everybody. In this video we are going to learn the most important thing in learning any 3D and 2D modeling software, which is selection. Now I have this project here. So first of all, how do we select? Now if you look at the bottom left, it says click to select, tab for alternate, control adds, shift unselect. So it's telling me click to select. Well, I want to select this wall. So what I will do, I will hover my cursor to the wall and it will highlight that. That's called pre-selection. Now I'm going to click on it and it will select that wall. So how do we know that we have successfully selected that wall? First thing to notice is the modify wall panel on the top on the ribbon. Next, we have in the properties, we can see that walls 1. So walls mean we have selected wall and one wall is selected. And now we can add control to add more walls to the selection. I'm going to press control on the keyboard, and as you can see that next to our cursor there's a small plus sign, which means if I select any other wall, before we select that, I'm just gonna take my cursor on this wall and it will highlight that. It hasn't selected yet, but I have to click on it to select that wall. I'm gonna click on it and now we have successfully selected 2 walls. Now if you look at the properties, it says walls 2. That means that we have selected 2 wall object. I'm going to press control again and I will click on another wall. And now it should say 3 walls selected. So we have selected 3 walls. So we can keep adding to our selection. You can even add multiple objects by pressing control and just keep clicking. It does not mean you can have only walls selected, but you can select multiple kinds of items such as doors, walls, windows into one selection. Now I have selected this toilet tub, and another toilet fixture here. Now how do we remove something from our selection? I don't want to remove everything. I just want to remove a couple of elements. Now if you pay attention at the bottom, it says shift unselect. Now if I press shift on a keyboard, next to our cursor there's a minus sign. That means that if we click on any selected object, it will unselect that. Now I'm gonna click on this toilet and then it will deselect that. I'm going to press shift key again and I'm going to click here to deselect all the toilet fixtures. I'm going to unselect this wall as well. So I'm going to press shift key, hold it down and then click on this wall. It will deselect that. Now we know how we can select and how we can add to our selection and how can we subtract from our selection. Now to deselect everything, I can simply click anywhere on my white area and it will deselect everything. Now, this is the one way to select object. There are 2 other ways that we can select. Now let's look at the second one. Now if I click and hold my mouse button down and I drag my mouse, as you can see I have the dotted rectangle. And if I click again and click and hold my mouse button and I drag it to the right, now I have the proper rectangle, not the dotted line. It's a solid line. Now what's the difference between these 2 selections? First, let's look at the dotted one. I'm gonna click, hold my mouse button down and I'm gonna just drag it, and now as you can see it is highlighting all of these things. Now it's not selecting yet. I have to let the mouse button go to select these objects. Now if we click here and drag our mouse to the right, and now I can see that it is not selecting anything. Now the difference between these 2 types of selection is that if you make a dotted window while clicking on the mouse and dragging it to the left, it will select everything which touches to this rectangle. So if I take it a little bit further, and as you can see it highlights that, so it will select the door. But what if I click here and drag my mouse to the right And if I click here again, it's still touching the door, but it's not selecting. Now, to select anything with this window with a solid line rectangle, you need to make sure you have a complete object in it. So it has to surround a complete object. Now I'm going to take it further, and you will see that it will highlight the window there. As you can see, it is highlighting the window because the window is the only object which completely comes in our selection window. I'm going to let the mouse button go, and now we have selected this window here. So this is very useful when you want to select only a complete object. Let's say if I want to select this table here in that room, then I can just make a quick window like that and let the mouse button go, and it will select that table there. Now I have selected one wall. I'm going to press the Control key and I'm going to select multiple walls. Now if you look at the properties palette, it's telling me that I have selected 4 walls. But what if I select a different kind of object, such as door? So I'm going to press the Control key and click on a door. And now as you can see, the properties palette is saying to me that common 5, which means that I don't have any one type of selection done. One type of object is not selected. So I have multiple objects selected. Now if I click on this drop down menu, I can see I have selected 1 door and I've selected 4 walls, and I'm in the floor plan floor 1, as you can see in the project browser as well. So if I select this toilet fixture and I click on, actually we didn't select it, so hold on Shift Control key and click on it to select that. Now we can see we have selected 6 common items. I'm going to click on it, and now it's telling me we have 1 plumbing fixture selected as well. So it's a great way to look at what kind of object you have selected and what types of object you have selected. Now we've seen the window selection, we have seen this selection by click and adding and subtracting selection. Now if you look at the bottom here, it says tab for alternates. Now what is mean by alternate? To demonstrate that, I'm going to zoom in to this door. I'm using my mouse wheel and scroll it up to zoom in. We'll have a separate video about navigation in Revit, so just scroll your mouse wheel up to zoom in. Now I'm gonna take my cursor closer to the door and the wall. Now as you can see, once I take my cursor here, it highlights the door. So if I click here now, it will select the door. But I'm going to press tab here. So once I press the tab, as you can see, it highlights the wall now. So let's say if 1 or 2 objects are overlapping, the boundaries are overlapping, then you can press tab to select to the next object, which is kind of overlapping. Now let's go outside, and I'm going to take my cursor and highlight this wall. Now I'm going to press tab. And now as you can see, once I press tab, it actually looked for the chain of the walls. And if you can see that, it says chain of the wall or lines. Now if I click, it will select all the lines which were considered to be as a chain. We'll look at this in detail in a later video in the projects. So there's one way of using tab. Now the last method to do selection is the strongest way to do selection in Revit. So let me just create a dotted window and I will select all of these. Alright, and now once I select all of these in the properties palette, I can see I have selected 54 items. I'm gonna click here to see the drop down menu. So I have selected 8 doors, 1 floor, 11 furniture fixtures, 5 plumbing fixtures, and specialty equipment is 1, wall 20, windows 8. Now if you look at the modify panel on the top, because we have selected the multiple items, multiple types of items, we get this filter command on the modify panel. I'm gonna click on this, and now in this dialog box I can see I have selected 8 doors, 1 floor, 11 furniture, 5 plumbing fixtures, and so on. Now they are all checked. I'm gonna click on check none, and then I will just say that I just want to select the windows. So I will just click on the windows, make them active, and now if I click on apply, and as you can see that, and now the selection has been modified. Now at this point we are only selecting all the windows in our selection, and if I click on wall and apply, it will select the wall and the windows. I'm going to uncheck windows and I will select furniture equipment. Let's apply, click OK, and now you can see that we're selecting the wall and we were selecting the furniture. I'm gonna click on modify again, filter again, and now as you can see in the selection we have only furniture and walls. So whenever you click on filters, you will see just the category of the objects you are selecting currently, and then you can modify your selection by selecting or deselecting objects. Let's click OK. And now in this video, that's about it. I'm going to talk about a navigation, zoom, pan, and rotate in the next video.